Okay, these are the parts that, the fiberglass parts that come with the wide body kit. These are the door caps. They go on the Furo doors. They get fiberglass Furo doors. The little notch down here at the end is where the door handle is. And the one closest to us is for the passenger side door, and the other one is the driver's door. Here's the fender caps. These are the GT fender caps for the GT version of the Furo. We have a little bit different fender cap we use for the notchback. And then the fiberglass wide body rear bumper. It's basically a bolt-on, and we're going to show you in the video how it goes on. And then what we have here, this one on this side is the passenger side wide body rocker panel, and then the driver's side wide body rocker panel. And the process when you're putting these things on is they're going to fasten the car with fasteners instead of, they're going to be more or less bolt-on. In other words, they're not going to be fiberglassed on. And then optionally, we have front fenders, the left and right front fenders for the wide body kit. These are 1 inch wider per side than stock fenders. We designed this kit so you can either use stock fenders or you can use the wide body front fenders. It just requires just a little bit of modification to the rocker panels if you're going to use the front fenders. And if you're going to use the stock Furo front fenders, you don't have to make that modification to the rockers. We'll talk about that later. Okay, earlier in the video I said that the wide body rocker panel set has to be modified a little bit if you're using the modify or the wide body front fenders that we have as an option. This rocker panel that's closest to us is configured, and this is how they come when you get them. It's configured for a stock Furo front fender, and you have this radius comes up, and the fender itself in the area right underneath the trim, right underneath the side molding trim, is wider length left to right here than our wide body front fenders. I'll show you why on that in a minute. So this radius would stay on here, and then this surface right here would go right up underneath your stock trim on your front fender, the side molding trim. Then with the rocker panel, when you're using our wide body front fenders, this is what it has to look like as you're putting it together. And you'll notice that the radius is gone here, because if you come over here and look at wide body front fenders, we have this reverse scoop type thing in here like we do on the rear of the car, and that makes the leading edge of, or this edge of the fender further up towards the front. That's how come this is narrower through here from left to right, is because the styling of the body. This has to be built up just a little bit with fiberglass. You got to trim off this radius that was on here, build this up a little bit with fiberglass, and then the top edge of this line along here, as you're fitting it up to the car, is going to set right into this little groove. I'm going to show you a view of it so you can see. You see there's a groove there that sets into here, right here at the top. And we'll show you when we're putting this all together on the car. You'll see it in the video. That groove on the fender is where the rocker panel sits into, and you can see on the trailing edge here why this isn't as quite as wide is because of this style here. But you'll see it as we start putting it together. Okay, on this car that we're going to be putting these panels onto, the ones we're doing the instructions on, the car is not here yet. We're just doing some pre-work before the car gets here. And what we're going to do is we're going to fit the fender cap to the rocker panel piece so that we can get our fastener set up for here. This is something you can do at home too. You can also do this before you start on your car, or do it while you're building your car, typically while you're building your car. And we're going to put the fender cap up here. We're going to try to match up this radius and match up this face along here so that the fender is flush with this face. We'll show you. Once we get it up there, then we're going to clamp it, but we'll talk about this here first, you'll see. So we're trying to line up the back edge of this so it's in the right place, looks in the right place out here, and we're trying to make this flush all along here. And then at the end of the fender cap, you may have to do a little bit of sanding along this line or something in here to get it, you know, to get this surface right here where my fingertip is in to where it's flush. Now right now you see it's a little bit recessed right here where this line is, but this is the surface we're going to build up with a little bit of fiberglass, and we'll bring it out to the fender when everything all match up. And then the idea here is that we're going to go on the backside, put a couple C-clamps on, and then put in our screw together fasteners for when we bolt these pieces all together, the fasteners are already set up. Be right back. See, we got a clamp on the back of it. I'll show you that in just a second. This is kind of what we're looking for, is to try to keep this flush and get the wheel well in the right area. Once the fasteners are put on here, there will be a little bit of adjustment that you'll be able to slide pieces back and forth when you put them on the car. And we have a clamp on back here, and you know, while we line the thing up and clamp this up tight, and then we're going to drill a couple of holes along this surface here and put in our bolting. You know, there's going to be 2 bolts holding this rocker panel and fender area together, and we'll show you those once we get them done or as we do them. And then the C-clamp, of course, will be gone. Okay, so what we've done is with a small drill, we've drilled a hole here through both layers of fiberglass, and another hole up here through both layers of fiberglass. And then we'll take these apart and open up the holes to the right size and put the clips on and that kind of stuff. Okay, so we drilled out the holes in both pieces to 3/8 diameter, and we're using these 6mm fold clips. You know, they're in the, you know, AutoZone or any auto parts store has these things hanging in a blister pack on the wall. And the clips will just slide over. If you don't have enough room to clear the end of the clip, you know, you try your clip like this, set it in here, make sure it's going to clear the end. You can always just sand a little bit off at the edge here and then slide the clip on. Okay. And when you're bolting this together, this hole location, it doesn't really matter where you have this hole location. If you have the hole location back here, that's cool too. But I always like to have one back here about an inch and a half from the end. And then this one here, you could have it up here or in here, you know, any place right through here. As long as when you put the screw through it, the screw don't go through and hit the bodywork, or, you know, you're limited as far as how long you may have the screw that goes through here. So if you want to use a longer screw, you know, the clip could be mounted back further. And then when the fender comes up here to be mounted, it'll come up, he's going to set it up here. Clip comes up here to mount it, and then a couple of 6mm screws go through, get it in place. And once you got these screws in there and they're snugged all up and everything, excuse me, you can still loosen the screws a little bit to move the relationship of these panels a little bit, because nothing's going to be perfect when you first put it together. You have to adjust this stuff as you're putting it on the car, but this is something you can do either as you're building the car or while you're waiting to get started building the car. This is some of the stuff you can preliminarily do. You can do beforehand. Okay, we're working on our wide body conversion, and we've taken the rear bumper off, the tail lights out, the rocker panel deal. This car had a complete rocker panel thing, aftermarket rocker panel, but you can take off the quarter panel in this area and the rocker panel up underneath the door, and the front fenders are off. We still have the nose on the car right now because we're trying to work out a solution on some stuff we're doing up here as far as that fiberglass nose. So we still have that on the car. And with the rear clip still on the car, we're going to be going in and we're going to be trimming off this flange that sticks down here, right up to here. Same thing along here. We're going to be trimming this off all along here, right, taking that flange off, taking this flange off that's down here. And we're going to need to be making a cut approximately where my thumb is, through here like this. If you go up and look underneath here, you see a flat area right here. We're going to trim up to that. So we're going to, on the outside here, it's going to be trimmed up to that area, that flat area that's up in here, which means it's going to be about 1.5 inches or so here. We're going to trim that out around here. We go over to the other side of the car, doing all the same thing over here on this side. And our fender cap is going to fit up into here, so that's why we're trimming this. This corner right here is going to interfere with our fender cap, so it has to be trimmed off, and our piece is going to come up and attach on the inside up there. And you'll see it's pretty cool. And then coming back over here to this side, the next thing we're going to be doing after that is we have to trim out the gas door. We already took out the pocket that's in the gas door here, and we're going to end up trimming this out kind of like this. Nice that there's dust on the car. It'll be trimmed out like this and around here, so there our new fender that's going to go on here already has a gas pocket in it, and we'll show you that as we go. Okay, so you can see we trimmed this off all the way down. We left the flange, the little plastic flange that comes down that goes to this hole fastener on here. But other than that, we trimmed it all the way back. Okay, we've on the gas door, we've trimmed around the gas door, and we're trimmed around to fit the inside of the fender. This bumpy out on the inside of the fender. That bumpy out, we cut out the bottom of it and stuff, and we'll stick the fender on there to show you how that goes on there. Okay, you see it goes on around the gas cap, and then up inside here, we have this flange on the back side of the fender, and this is going to attach right up in here. And the so the fender's in the place where it belongs right now. And he's already got a little bit ahead of us, and he's already started to open this up to put the gas door in, because we use the stock gas door. Okay. And he's already working on this area for the gas door. Why don't you set the gas door up on there so you can see what it looks like. And it's going to go into this pocket just about like it does in the stock Bureau. Still got some adjustment to do. He hasn't put the holes in for bolting it on yet, or screwing it on yet. That's where we're at. Okay, here we have the rear bumper ready to start fitting. We mounted the backup lights in here. And you normally would be mounting reflectors in the stock positions. And then when you're doing this bumper, the areas here where you cut out for the license plate lights, these are scribed into the fiberglass, so you can just cut them on the scribe lines, and there's a couple of holes for mounting them up on each one of them. And we're ready to put the bumper on the car. When you're putting the bumper on the car, you're mounting it up to the original rail where the original bumper mounted all along here. And this piece is adjustable a little bit. So you're going to put it up here, see how your adjustment comes out with the rest of the body. And you may have to raise or lower one end of this a little bit or adjust it around so the bumper's on the car square and everything. Yeah, see, we got the bumper mounted up here, and then you're going to use these little thingies here to stick in the hole and mount the bumper up just like it was before. Push your thing down, And the object here is to see how well it fits right up to this area right here on both sides of the car. And then when the fender cap, which is laying right here, fender cap goes on, fender cap is going to be attached in this area here. Okay, since we were with you last, we put this fender cap on here. It's not on here tight yet. It's not located yet, or not 100% yet. But we just put it on here, and we put those two bolts in back here. Didn't tighten them down or anything yet. As you can see, this fender cap is still on here loose. But the idea is that we're going to be working on getting these two lines lined up. But before we did that, we put the rocker panel on too. And the rocker panel is just sitting on there. It's just stuck up on there for right now. And our goal here is to get this fender in the right place and to get these two screws here tightened up and get this get a flush finish along this edge here. And then while doing that, right now we have a little bit of trimming to do on the edge of this. You see, we still have the original black Furo body in here, and the rocker panel has this white piece that goes up behind the body, behind the original Furo body. Then this piece is going up over it, and along this edge right in here, we're going to trim this. We're going to trim this down to bring the top of this in where we need it to be. But along this line right here, we'll be trimming or using a rotary file to knock this down a little bit so this fits up here flush, and try to get this the bottom of this equal with the rocker down here. See, we have the rocker down here. This is adjustable in and out just a little bit yet, and but we need to bring this in, this surface here in. I open the door here to show you just a little bit more. Right now the rocker panel is not bolted down or anything. It's just sitting on there so that we can get our, this is the next thing to do, is to get this trimmed so that this piece sits in here, and we want this edge to be right up against the body just like it is down along here. You're going to go all the way up here. See, it's coming out a little bit here. So we'll do a little bit of a rotary file down through here and bring that panel in. And then we're going to put a couple of bolts in. Remember the bolts that we set up in here? We'll put a couple of bolts in when we get this in the right place. And when you're lining up your wheel well arc right here, that tells you where your rocker panel has to go north and south on the car, is getting a good blend of the wheel well around here. And also when you were putting the rear bumper on in the fender cap, you're looking for the same thing in this area. Okay, over on this side of the car, we're ready to put the fender cap on, which means we have to have the gas door and all that stuff sorted out by now. And here is the original hole that the cable ran through for releasing the gas cap door, and because everything's being moved out just a little bit, we put a second hole in right here. And the panel kind of looks like this. Got the door attached, and we got the latch deal attached. I'll turn it around, take a look at the other side. And here's where your latch is, over here on this side, and your what you call it, door thing with the springy thingy. And let's put her on there. We're basically putting this on just like we do the other side. We're going to put a couple of screws through down here, and when it goes on for the last time, the cable will be routed through the hole there and connected up here. Right now this is mostly just fitting for the body now. And we'll do just like we did on the other side, putting a couple of screws in down here and start getting this panel aligned like on the other side of the car we were doing a little bit ago. Okay, so we have the fender located in the right place. We have the bolts that are holding the fender to the rocker panel here, and the bolts back here are snugged up good. And you can see that this is flush through here, and that the arcs of the wheel well lines up. This body work going on right here is for a side marker light. And this flush through here. And we had built up this area here with fiberglass. We talked about that before. And it sticks out just a little bit on this end because we still got to trim it off. But you can see that the end of this panel is trimmed so that when it's being installed, it's going to be right up there, close up the gap. And you can see that we have a good gap going all the way down here, so we have the rocker panel in the right place, north and south on the car. And we'll just keep on building. All these pieces will be coming off when it's time to put it on the last time, because these panels get screwed to the car with some filler behind them, and then they get fiberglassed over. But we're just fitting them right now. Okay, right now we're working on door panels, and one thing we need to point out so that you can service this after the door cap is put on, you can put the door handle, take the door handle on and off of the door panel. As you know, the door caps cover up the door handle. It hides the door handle. What you need to do is on the back of the door panel, this hole here and this hole here hold the door handle on. That's where these two studs go through. And we just need to slot these two holes, slot it down like these two felt marks on here. Slot these two down, and then on this one over here, slot this one up. Makes it so you can take the door handle off after the door cap is on. And this is what it looks like when you're done. You got these two holes are now slots, and this slot's just a little bit longer up here. As you can see, we've got the body mounting pretty well roughed in on this, as far as the rocker panel and the door cap, or the fender caps and the rear bumper. Once we get it to this point, you know, it still has to be fiberglassed on along the edge here. But for now, we've got a couple of self-tapping screws, running self-tapping screws in a couple of places along the bumper, or along the fender cap, just to keep it in there, keep it up against the car. When we go to fiberglassing it, we'll show you what to do with those. Come over here to the other side. You can see there's a couple of screws in here, a couple of self-tapping screws. These aren't going to be in there when you're finished. They're just keeping it there for now until you start doing your fiberglassing. Here's another one up here. As you can see along here, we've got several screws along the top edge of the fender cap to hold it in place. We aren't bonding it on yet. We're just fitting these panels on. These screws will have a significance later on when we go to put this on. I'll show you. And then we fitted the rocker panel. We've already talked about fitting that some. And what we've done is we've located it so that the face of this thing is flush here. And when you close the door, you have a decent door gap. We'll look at that in a minute. And up here at the top of this rocker, sometimes you have to do a little grinding on the top radius of this rocker piece as it fits in here, because the bodies aren't all the same on the inside of this radius here on the body, the black area here. So sometimes you got to do a little grinding up on the top, take a little bit of material off of there. And as you can see, the rocker's on. There's a couple of screws down there in the bottom. And then we went and we took the door caps, or the doors off of the car, and I showed you before where we cut out for the hinge. Now now what we have here is the door cap, what we call the door cap. It gets fiberglass on also, but the object is to get from this parting line, to get the bottom line of this all the way up and keep it level, because it's going to blend into the fender line when we get up to front. Yeah. And the object is to get this all level and get it to blend into the fender line when you get up front. When you start to put the front fender on, it of course bolts onto the top, and that line, the line at the bottom edge of this, is supposed to come to this bottom line right here on the fender. We'll show you that a little bit more in a second. And this lip that sticks down on the door flange is going to be fiberglass to the car, and it's also going to be fiberglassed up at the top. But for right now, we have a couple of self-tapping screws in there to help with alignment. you can see that the gap is just a little wide here, and that's because we're going to have to put a little bit of fiberglass on the face of this. This particular car has been wrecked. We think it's been wrecked once, maybe not real bad, but we do have a gap issue with the door, with the body on this side. So we end up with a little bit wider gap there. You can see that the gap down at the bottom is pretty decent, but our gap up here is just a little bit wide, and we think it's because there's a little tweaking that's going on here. Okay, now on the fender, the rocker panels, first of all, if you're using the wide body front fenders, we talked about this before, the rocker panel has to have this there's a little radius on here when you get them, and you have to have that trimmed off, and you have to bring this up. You see this lip, everything's not attached permanently yet, but see the lip on the rocker panel fits right into this little groove on the fender. And the fenders are bolted on along the top. You're going to be putting you're going to be drilling those holes that you're bolting them on with. Mostly because you're going to have to be fitting the fender. You'll remember this car had a 355 nose on it before. The customer wanted to switch back to a Furo nose, so we got a Furo nose on there. Still waiting on a little bit of the mounting hardware for the original Furo nose, so we don't have this quite done up here yet. But the fender is going to end up bolting on using the 4 bolts along the top of the fender, and the 2 screws down at the bottom. Down in here, there's going to be 2 fasteners, just like on a stock fender, and then the rocker panel is going to go over it. This surface right here is part of the wide body front fender, and the rocker panel will be put on after the fender is attached down here, just like on a regular Furo. And on the back side, I'm going to show you another picture of this that I shot earlier, but on the back side of this fender, there's 2 studs that stick out, and those 2 studs will fit into that flange that sticks up on the front, on the where the side marker light used to be, and those will screw on. That'll attach onto there, and that'll make this line flush when it's all attached on. Like I said, we got a little issue with mounting hardware for the front end. Later on, you'll see that this arrowhead here is going to get ground off, and this is going to get filled in right here. And you can see that we've changed the hood. The hood that was on the car, we've changed that because it just really wasn't in real good condition. And we're going to be putting a Werber scoop in it, so we decided to pull one off the shelf and use it instead. Over here, you can see the fenders on the car. And you can see down here at the bottom, there's a fastener here holding the fender on. We're going to put another one in right down here. And this is before the rocker panel is put on. Once again, you can see that we've changed the door panel. The door panel that was on the car when it got here was damaged, and we have an extra door panel hanging on the wall, or hanging on a shelf, so we're going to use it. You'll notice that this door panel is from a GT or an Aero car, and it has the holes along here, along the edge of the door. In a little bit, when we take this off to do the final assembly, we'll be fiberglassing these closed with fiberglass mat and everything to try to hide them. If you just fill them in with body filler, that body filler is going to come out. Later on, that body filler is going to come out and it's going to look like heck. So you got to glass them up, and I'll show you that in the video. You got to use fiberglass mat and get it and fiberglass it on both sides. And like I said before, we did some of the work before the car got here. We, for the side marker lights, we're using from a new Mini Cooper, and so we had to fiberglass this pocket in. When you get the kit, it doesn't have the pocket fiberglassed in. You can put in any side marker lights you'd like to use. We like those mini lights, so that's what we fiberglass those in by wrapping the mini light up in some plastic and then putting it into place, cutting out a slot for it, putting it into place, and then fiberglassing a wall on the back end of it, so it looks like it's just made for the job. Okay, over on this side of the car, we've got the the door cap on, and we're getting ready to start doing the fiberglassing, where we fiberglass the door caps and the fender caps onto the car. Everything else is bolt on, and we're going to show you that process step by step this time. So we'll be back. Okay, we're on the first part of bonding the panels on, and we did this all along the top edge of the rear fender caps, and then along the top edge, and we're going to do it down below along the bottom edge of the door caps. And what we've done is we mixed up a glue that we make, and you can use body filler or whatever. What we use is body filler, nylon fiber, and resin, about 1/3 parts each, mixed it up into like a peanut butter paste. And then we loosen up the screws along the top edge of this piece, for example. Brought the piece out away from the car a little bit. Took a disc sander and roughed up the surface of the, roughed the paint off. Took the paint off of the body in this area, and we mashed some of that stuff, that glue stuff, in there. And then we put the screws back in and let it ooze back out. And then as we snug these screws back up, it'll ooze that stuff out. And what that does to keep the panel where we want it while we start to fiberglass it. When we fiberglass it, we'll be scuffing up this area further up and scuffing up this surface here and laying fiberglass mat across. Then after that mat sets up, then we'll be taking the screws out and laying another layer of fiberglass mat on there. But you'll do that at the top edge of the door cap, the bottom edge of the door cap. You can only do the top or the bottom first, and then do the other one after that sets up, and then along the top edge of the rear fender caps. Over here you can see we've done the same thing. And of course, once you tighten this up and your glue starts to ooze out of there, then just smooth it off a little bit with a filler blade or whatever, and let that set up. Once that gets all set up, then we'll start laying fiberglass over it. Okay, we're getting ready to lay fiberglass up over the seam here where the wide body fastens onto the Bureau rear clip. This surface through here has been gone over with the grinding wheel to rough it up so it's got, the fiberglass has got something to bite into, and the screws have been removed, and the glue that we have is right along the seam here, and we're going to fiberglass right over that, a couple layers, and the screws have been all run out and the holes filled. We'll just go all the way down the side of the car, and then you can see the upper side of the door cap and the lower side of the door cap are ready to be fiberglass. So I'm going to start laying fiberglass on this. Okay, we're getting ready to do the fiberglass now, or lay the first layer of fiberglass on. You can see that this has been ground, the paint and everything's been ground off of this surface here and roughed up, and the bottom edge of the door cap has been ground, and he even laid a piece of green tape up in here. The purpose of the green tape is when we go to start finishing this, getting this nice and smooth here with fiberglass mat and everything, when he's cutting on it, when he gets to the green tape, he's done. This shows him where the original surface was, and both sides on this have been ground, you see, over in here too. And then this is the door panel we had to, this is actually a GT door panel, so we're also going to be doing fiberglassing in the area where all the holes were in the bottom of the door panel. Show you that when we do it. Coming over to here, we have the same areas. The top area along the fender cap has all been ground all the way down. Take off that paint, that way the fiberglass has a good material to stick to. Same thing as down through here. Same thing on both sides of the car. going to lay up fiberglass mat over all of this, all the way down here. And then we can start grinding some of that fiberglass down and lay a second layer on, and then grind it down and then start filling. We put some paper down here on the side, so when the fiberglass is put on here, it doesn't run down this whole side of the car. You don't have to work on the whole thing. Not a bad idea to tape a little bit of tape, masking paper on there. Okay, so here we see the door panels with the first layer of fiberglass mat and resin on both sides of the, down in this area here and up on here. Same thing on this door panel. And we also got the body done from our latest discussion. Layer of fiberglass mat and resin all the way down, going up into here, around the end. Got this on both sides of the car. When we talk about fiberglass mat and resin, I think I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Well, the resin you can buy by the gallon at the AutoZone or one of those kind of places. The mat is a random fiber. It's a fiberglass mat. This is 1.5 ounce, and if you will, the strands of fiberglass are random, if you can see that, and makes it so there's not a print through on the finished car. Some people talk about using fiberglass cloth. Cloth usually is a checkerboard style, you know, it's not random, it's a checkerboard style mat, cloth mat, and sometimes that stuff will show a print through after you're all finished doing your body work and everything, and it'll still show through the paint. You can see a shadow of it. You can't feel it, but you can see it. That's why I like this stuff here, because this isn't going to leave a print through because it's a random consistency, if you will. The strands are blown into this mat. Okay, here we have the door panels turned over upside down, and we've roughed up this surface here throughout the door panel. We're going to lay a couple of pieces of flat fiberglass in here just to stiffen up the door. We found that these doors are really hard to sand and get smooth because they're so flexible, and so we stiffen the door up just a little bit to get to make it easier on the other side doing the sanding and stuff, and it also makes it easier to do a good job filling these extra holes in this one door panel. Fiberglass it on both sides, and if you fill it with filler, the filler is just going to pop out. And then over here on this car, we've gone over with the DA, and we've knocked down the fiberglass. We knocked down the rough fiberglass mat, knocked it down to where it can be, we can start to sand and fill on it, and just took all the fuzz and all the rough stuff off the top. We're also getting ready to fiberglass the end here. We're going to lay some fiberglass mat up on the end here to even that out, make it look good, make it look finished, and we're getting ready to do that too. We'll show you that as it's going on. Okay, earlier in the video I said that the WideBody rocker panel set has to be modified a little bit if you're using the modify or the WideBody front fenders that we have as an option. This rocker panel that's closest to us is configured, and this is how they come when you get them. It's configured for a stock Bureau front fender, and you have this radius comes up, and the fender itself in the area right underneath the trim, right underneath the side molding trim, is wider length left to right here than our WideBody front fenders. I'll show you why on that in a minute. So this radius would stay on here, and then this surface right here would go right up underneath your your stock trim on your front fender, the side molding trim. Then with the rocker panel, when you're using our wide body front fenders, this is what it has to look like as you're putting it together. And you'll notice that the radius is gone here, because if you come over here and look at wide body front fenders, we have this reverse scoop type thing in here like we do on the rear of the car, and that makes the leading edge of, or this edge of the fender further up towards the front. That's how come this is narrower through here from left to right, is because the styling of the body. This has to be built up just a little bit with fiberglass. You got to trim off this radius that was on here, build this up a little bit with fiberglass, and then the top edge of this line along here, as you're fitting it up to the car, is going to set right into this little groove. I'm going to show you a view of it so you can see. You see there's a groove there that sets into here, right here at the top. And we'll show you when we're putting this all together on the car. You'll see it in the video. That groove on the fender is where the rocker panel sits into, and you can see on the trailing edge here why this isn't as quite as wide, is because of this style here. But you'll see it as we start putting it together. Okay, you'll remember earlier on we talked about trimming off the top of these. If you're using the wide body front fenders, trimming off the top of this, taking that radius off on the side, and extending this out just a little bit to get up into that notch in the rockers. Here what we're doing is there's a return on this scoop here, and what we got is a piece of cardboard with some tape on it, and we're going to get back in here and build up this surface to make that return complete and make it look good. And I got one over here to show you what it's going to look like when it's done. Okay, what we're doing is just putting in this return right along here, along the side. Just make it look a little bit more complete. Okay. I thought I'd add this here. This is that soft plastic front clip that comes on a Fiero. And although side marker lights aren't included with the kit, you can do any kind of side marker light you want. We're using the Mini Cooper side marker lights. Showed you those before. And what we're doing to stiffen this surface up a little bit so that we can make a pocket for the side marker light to go in. We already got it cut out, but there's still going to be a pocket built in behind it. We scuffed up the inside surface of this plastic nose here, and we laid a couple layers of fiberglass all along this surface here, all the way up into the corner about where my fingers are, all the way back to the back end. Laid a couple layers of fiberglass up into there, and that'll keep this surface here stiff enough that we can actually build this pocket and not worry about it breaking out of there, you know, if the front end is flexing or anything. Anyway, just thought I'd let you know that's how we do it. And here's the pocket that we're working on for the side marker light. Okay, as you'll recall, we have a Fiero door that had arrow panels on it, and they have holes in it, and we want to fill those holes in. And you'll recall we fiberglassed the other side of the door, put fiberglass mat in the body of the door. And on this side, we just got ground out around the areas where the holes are, roughed these surfaces up, and we're going to put fiberglass mat and resin and everything right in every one of those. And that should keep them from popping out later on. You just do it with body filler, they're not going to stay in there. Over here on the end of the front end of the fender caps in the door jamb area, I showed you before where we were going to fill that in, make it look better, make it look like a nice finished surface. Here we've got the fiberglass mat all laid up on there, and when it cures we'll start sanding in that area. Kind of show you that too. Okay, when we glassed over these surfaces, all the surfaces are going to be the same, but I'm just showing you this one fender. When we glassed over it, of course the fiberglass is kind of a rough finish, so we went over that with about a 45 or a 50 grit wheel and ground off the high spots all the way down, and also we ground into this area here on the end where we had it fiberglass off yesterday. That how do you want to say, is kind of a rough cut. It knocks down the high spots, and then we'll start working on body filler and that kind of stuff to get it all smooth and pretty. Over here on the door panels, it was basically the same way. After fiberglassing, this is the passenger side door panel, and I'm standing at the top of the door panel. But we knocked down the high fiberglass, the high spots. We knocked down the high spots with about a 50 grit wheel, and then Chris has been sanding on these. There's the other panels over here, and we've been sanding and filling on them, getting them straight and smooth. And this is the driver's side door panel, and remember, we had holes in there. We don't have holes anymore because it's been all fiberglassed over and sanded and starting to fill and doing body work. It's mostly going to be body work today, just getting these panels straight and getting them finished up to where they're ready to put back on the car. And then out here we've put the side marker openings are in the front clip, or the nose, and it's just sitting out here in the sunlight, so it'll cure out the fiberglass a little bit faster. We made pockets in behind the side marker lights. There's still some plastic tape in there, not quite finished with these, but it's pretty close. You remember that we talked about this fiberglass mat that was laid up in here to stiffen up this surface. Over here on the hood, this hood scoop is not part of the wide body kit, but we're installing a Werber scoop on the hood here, and it was fiberglass around the edges according to the instructions that come with that scoop. And then we ground down the fiberglass, the excess roughness of the fiberglass, and then fiberglass it a couple more times, and then we're doing filling and sanding to get it all smooth and all looking like it's finished. So that's going on now too. Anyway, once the body's all mounted up and the fiberglass has been laid over this and then scuffed out, roughed out, and knock off the high spots with some kind of grinder, you're going to start doing your body filling and making the thing pretty. And that's what we're doing. You're going to spend a few hours doing it and sanding it, and then send it over to your paint guy and let him finish it.